美洲大陆的原住民族跟台湾的原住民族一样，原本是没有文字的，一直到近年才发展出拼音系统。早年没有文字的时候，遭遇外来的殖民者入侵，要签订条约，怎么办呢？在美洲大陆，尤其是东岸的原住民族，在过去100-200年之间很常见的做法，就是使用这种珠带来作为缔约的信物跟证据，也就是用白色的贝壳串出代表不同氏族的图腾还有象征。北美洲原住民族使用这种贝壳来治病或是祈福的历史已经有超过4500年，但一直到殖民者入侵美洲大陆之后，也开始拿来用作为缔约的材料。例如现在您看到的这一条珠带，就代表5个不同的民族彼此缔约，因为讲不同的语言，无法彼此互相沟通，所以就织出这一条珠带来缔结条约。而且每一个图腾，它所象征的就是不同的民族。例如最左边的正方形，它代表 Seneca 族，这个族同意成为护卫西边边界的守护者。左边算来第2个是 Sahuyaga 族的代表。而中间白色的7角形的图腾，它代表的是 Onondaga 族，它成为生命之火的守护者。右边算来第2个长方形的是 Oneida 族，最右边的正方形是 Mohawk 族，承诺要成为看守东方边界的守护者。当然，如果是跟殖民者订定条约，珠带的意义就更加深远。就有美国、加拿大2国东岸的原住民族人要重现当年祖先跟荷兰人签约的历史，以独木舟划行在纽约的哈德逊河，守护当年编串的珠带跟信物，抵达纽约市，要跟荷兰人或者说白人再肯认条约所追求的2族和平、2族对等共存的精神。政府跟原住民族签订的条约所定下的承诺不可毁坏，这是21世纪原住民族想传递的重要的精神。
The Haudenosaunee call the Hudson the river that runs in 2 directions. These paddlers are experiencing it firsthand. Under cloudy skies, the Hudson is choppy to say the least. This flotilla is on its way to Midtown Manhattan, a few kilometers away, where hundreds of people are eagerly awaiting their arrival. But this journey has lasted much longer than just a few kilometers. This is the day before in a town north of New York City called Piermont. This is one of the last stops before Manhattan. Everything is double-checked, and then the 80 canoes and kayaks are put in the water. They're part of the flotilla called the Two-Row Wampum Renewal Campaign. Some have been on the water for most of the summer, snaking their way through New York State. It launched on July 2nd from the Onondaga First Nation in Upper New York State. The plan? Paddle 400 kilometers to Manhattan. And it hasn't been easy.
The hardest part is when the weather's bad.
Through high water, flood water, scorching sun, high winds.
Especially when you have like a light canoe or light boat, the wind will blow you around and stuff.
All the water just kept kind of gushing over the sides.
I was bailing as fast as I could, but we still got a bunch of water in there. And
You're hitting the waves and just staying positive.
Staying positive, like the Haudenosaunee ancestors did nearly 400 years ago. That's when the Seneca, Cayuga, Onondaga, Oneida, and Mohawk nations, who made up the Haudenosaunee Confederacy at the time, made their first treaty with Europeans. It was with the Dutch, with whom they had a trading relationship with. The Dutch put the agreement in writing. The Haudenosaunee put it on a beaded wampum belt, with 2 purple perpendicular lines, separated by 3 white ones.
The Two-Row Wampum Treaty describes our 2 peoples as traveling down the river of life side by side in peace and friendship.
The 2 rows represent that we're like brothers and not like father and son, and that we're not to govern and they're not to govern us.
This is our Haudenosaunee people in our canoe with our ways, and the Dutch with their ways and their people and their cultures. You know, you can see that they're all the way. They never touch. They never cross paths.
For as long as the grass grows green, for as long as the sun shines from the east and sets in the west,
they're always living side by side down the river of life, in the same river of life.
this peace, friendship is forever.
Forever. The Two-Row Wampum is more than just a treaty for the Haudenosaunee. It's a cultural touchstone. You'd be hard-pressed to find a single member of the 6 member nations who do not know of its existence, who can't speak to its simple but profound beauty and meaning. They find it irksome that most of the ancestors of the people they made the treaty with have no idea it exists. That's where the idea of a flotilla was born. They would bring the 2-row wampum to New York, just as their ancestors did before them.
Here in New York City, a lot of people don't even know we still exist.
That's where neighbors of the Onondaga Nation, or Noon, come in.
Unfortunately, my people, the people of New York State, the United States, the settlers here have not upheld our part of that agreement.
Based in Syracuse, New York, Noon has been working side by side with the Onondaga Nation for 2 years to organize the flotilla. They also serve a poignant purpose on the water. Non-Aboriginal paddlers, or allies as they're called, form a second row next to the native paddlers in a live-action homage to the wampum.
Part of the goal of the campaign is to try and bring that vision to life. And so, paddling down this river side by side felt like a way to do that, to help show people that this is a vision which can come to life now. This is not just ancient history from 400 years ago, but it's something that we have a responsibility today to seek to live up to.
The 2-row wampum renewal campaign was conceived in order to educate the general public.
It's the written history that misleads. The colonizers of this land are being misled to this day by the education system. So we're bringing the message of peace and friendship and forever.
And they've been accepted with open arms wherever they've stopped. Communities all over New York State have provided food, campgrounds, and showers to the flotilla. And perhaps most importantly, they've listened.
Can I take a picture of it right now?
But for all the peace and friendship this journey has been promoting, scratch the surface, and history's wounds emerge.
They had a policy back years ago that we were going to be assimilated, eliminated, and so that they would have free reign of this country. But as you can clearly see, we ain't going anywhere.
Which brings us back to the last leg of their journey, because this day is not so much about education. It's about Haudenosaunee sovereignty. The boats are launched in the pouring rain. The waters of the Hudson River are rough. The sky's angry. Still, there are about 50 boats strong. 13 hard, choppy kilometers. At the destination, 200 people are waiting. First Nations people and allies from all over Canada and the United States. Among them, the Lakota Unity Riders from Manitoba, who drove all the way down with their horses. The paddlers round the corner. The celebration begins in earnest. Waiting for them at the pier was Dutch Consul General Rob de Vos. In a gesture that echoes back 400 years, he is presented the 2-row wampum belt by its custodian, Hickory Edwards. Then they make their way through the crowd. The paddlers are tired, but they're not done. Across town, the United Nations is marking the International Day of the world's indigenous peoples.
When we go to the United Nations, it's a spark of dialogue. We're being listened to. And I know that our leaders have important and strong, powerful things to say. And I would just like to be heard. I would like our people to be heard,
Once there, they were greeted by the UN Secretary General.
Today, I urge member states to take concrete steps to address the challenges facing indigenous peoples, especially their marginalization and exclusion, by honoring all commitments and examining what more can be done.
But the main event for the Haudenosaunee is Oren Lyons, faithkeeper of the Onondaga Nation and longtime native rights activist. He helped establish the UN's first working group on indigenous issues in 1982. Lyons is deeply respected, even revered. He spoke for close to 20 minutes and shared a Haudenosaunee teaching regarding leadership.
When you sit and you counsel for the welfare of the people, think not of yourself, nor of your family, nor even your generation. Make your decisions on behalf of the 7th generation coming. As my question, to one and all here, is how do we instruct 7 billion people as to the relationship to the earth?
Then he closed on a positive note.
It's going to get better because I saw that will out there on the river. So with that, I thank you so much for this chance to speak.
Lyons speaks of will and hope for the future. It resonates with young people like they got Leos Edwards. But she says as fine as those words are to hear, real change will only come from within their own communities.
And it's easy to sit here and talk about things, but it's hard to go back and do them. But there's an energy and there's some kind of momentum that fires people up. So I think that's the importance of bringing our people together, is to spark that fire in each other and that inspiration in each other.
With the wampum belt and a message delivered, the flotilla is going back home. As they like to point out, the Haudenosaunee are not going anywhere. After a short break, they'll be back on these waterways soon enough, because it's their right to travel these rivers forever.